إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبد الله ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله عز وجل كما جاء في محكم التنزيل يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Brothers and sisters, we begin with praise and gratitude, the essence of worship, the essence of the reflection upon our life and everything in it being a gift from the merciful, compassionate one. We are living in this world in a test. Is our allegiance to our own selfish interests, or are we part of the grand design of divine truth, consciously in agreement with that which created us, functioning upon a system and a path that He has made for us, a straight path that brings goodness to the world and leads to eternity in the bliss, in the presence of perfection. This is the test that we live in. So we seek His help, we seek His guidance, and we seek His forgiveness as we attempt to traverse this plane. The reality is that there is nothing worthy of worship and there is no deity except for God alone. And Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, was His final messenger and prophet sent to mankind so that we could all see an example of that beautiful path. So we read an ayah of the Quran that says, the Prophet ﷺ used to recite it often at the beginning of speeches. It says, O you who have embraced faith, do not let yourself die except for you are in a state of Islam. Do not be other than one who is mindful of your duty to the responsibility that you owe to the one who gave you your life and everything in it. Be in a state of reflection and caution in your soul's worth. That being said, today we are now on what they call Black Friday. So historically, people camp out all night, people cram in the doors, trampling people over. People have all of these lists and they will spend their whole day going here and there, making sure that they can get a good deal to buy something. They are looking to maximize the benefit in something that will make their life better, and that they don't have to spend so much on it. And there's no reason why that's haram or wrong. But the question is, do we treat our souls the same way we treat the things that we look for in this world, which is a temporal reality? This world on average, maybe 70 years we will live here. Then after we die, every single one of us are facing eternity. And that is the reality of the soul. The soul's plight is much more extensive and much more consequential than any amount of money made. Because when someone dies, they do not take any money. They do not take any degrees. They do not take any tribe or status of society or nationality with them. You will only take your soul and its ultimate worth. And why should we not treat spirituality like that? Because Allah in the Holy Quran has told us this. يا أيها الذين آمنوا هل أدلكم على تجارة تنجيكم من عذاب أليم. O you who have embraced faith, would you like me to tell you about a business transaction that would save your soul from a painful punishment? He is talking about the essence of what it means to be a conscious person and to have a very good idea of where you came from, what you're doing, and where you're going. The existential, philosophical dilemmas that most people are facing. The Quran, page by page by page, is methodically and meticulously answering these questions. Because the one who has revealed this Quran is the one who created the whole reality that we are living in. Walhamdulillah. So we have to think about where we're at and where we're going, because He has offered us a system, A lot of Muslims are looking for just like a special free ticket deal. A lot of Muslims, I've talked with many Muslims, that think that if you're called Muslim, you are guaranteed a place in heaven. That is not true for anyone who studied the Quran and the Sunnah. A lot of Muslims on this 27th night of Ramadan pop up out of nowhere. And now, mashallah, we assume number one that 27th night of Ramadan is Laylatul Qadr, which there is no scriptural basis to prove that, just some opinions of human beings who are not prophets. And then number two, that is all that is required of you to be a believer. Then you have people who live their whole life in corruption and they save up their money, they're like, now I'm going to Hajj. Some of them are saying, inshallah, when I go to Hajj, then I'll fix it. Then they die before they go to Hajj. Walay'adu billah. God protect us from that. And then there's those, they went to Hajj and it was very sacred, they came back, they went right back to the way they were living. This is some sort of مَا لَكُمْ كَيْفَ تَحْكُمُونَ, as Allah said. What kind of judgment is this? And then you have, in the subcontinent, this idea that if I made my kid to become hafiz, I train my child to become a memorizer of the Quran, then mashallah, no matter what I do in my family, he's going to take 10 of us to Jannah with him whenever he passes away. This hadith is not acceptable from the chain of transmission. This hadith is full of doubts in who has narrated this hadith. No scholar of the hadith sciences is saying we should rely upon it. But the culture, looking for that free Black Friday deal that is not based upon real evidence, has authenticated and spread it so much to the extent that kids are confused. They're like, Mama, Baba, how much did you memorize of the Quran? And you're asking me to memorize the whole Quran? Again, مَا لَكُمْ كَيْفَ تَحْكُمُونَ. What kind of judgment is this? And so when you do not live the example and you're really pushing for an example in your children, they will see the contradiction. And it will make spirituality much harder to accept for them. So, obviously on Black Friday, most people have budgeted themselves for the year. They have their house and their bills, they're taking care of these things. And they have their necessities taken care of. But now they're looking to get a special deal and buy something to make their life better with some extra money. If we can please move everybody far in that way, because there is no room for other people. تَفَسَّحُوا فِي الْمَجَالِسِ يَفْسَحُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. As Allah said, if you will open, we can need to move. Actually, everybody here needs to move down this way, inshallah. And then everybody else can come in the room, inshallah. And I'm sure we have some people here. Many people are out of town, and many people are in town. Because the people with the keys to open the doors for overflow, I know now are out of town. So this is a problem. Qadarullah wa ma sha'a fa'al. So, if we look at this idea of budgeting yourself and keeping your bills paid and making sure you have your necessities, that is like the fara'id. That is like the pillars of Islam, making sure you're keeping up your 5 daily prayers, making sure you pay your zakat, making sure that you are fasting Ramadan and understanding and taking purpose and meaning. We're not talking about, what about a step past that? How are we going to get there? Islam must be taken as a whole. If not, it ceases to be Islam. يا أيها الذين آمنوا ادخلوا في السلم كافة ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين. O you who have embraced faith, enter into a life, into Islam, into the submission to your Lord, provider, sustainer, and maintainer, who has given you everything that you love and hold dear. He has laid out for you a system. Follow all of it to the best of your ability, and do not follow the footsteps of the devil, because he is your avowed enemy. So he's telling you, don't become among those that are ungrateful. Do not become among those who did not take their souls seriously. Eternity is waiting after death. And if you look in the graveyard, everyone in this room can go in the graveyard and look at the time period between birth and death. And everyone in this room will find in that graveyard people who had a shorter time on this earth than themselves. In the graveyard. So we have to prepare for that. Don't be among those who on the day of judgment are walking around with your head down, feeling in disgrace, begging for another chance. وَلَوْ تَرَى إِذِ الْمُجْرِمُونَ نَاكِسُوا رُؤُوسِهِمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ رَبَّنَا أَبْصَرْنَا وَسَمِعْنَا فَارْجِعْنَا نَعْمَلْ صَالِحًا إِنَّا مُوقِنُونَ. Don't be, as the ayah says, among those who were criminals against their souls. They neglected their soul. They got attached to this world and the material benefit that it has to offer. They were attached to their selfish goals rather than divine goals of ultimate well-being of society. And so now they're on the day of judgment, resurrected out of their grave, feeling great regret, saying, "Oh God, we now see the truth. We now hear the truth. So send us back, let us live, and now we'll prove to you that we are certain about our soul's reality. Do not let death come to you," and that is the state that you are in. The true value and fulfillment of purpose is in sincerity. A genuine connection to the Lord of your soul and protecting your soul in His journey. We must take good care of our hearts. This is our most precious currency. يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. On that day, on the day of judgment, there will be no benefit to anyone from how much money they had or how big their family was and their tribal status. Only those who come with a pure, sincere heart, one that was dedicated to its Lord. So where is the Black Friday deal in Islam? The Black Friday deal in Islam, the Prophet ﷺ was asked about it. أَيُّ الْأَعْمَالِ أَفْضَلُ? What are the best of deeds, the heaviest of deeds? The Prophet ﷺ started out by saying what some people would think in the secular mindset is quite peculiar. He said, إِيمَانٌ بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. What is the best of deeds? The Prophet ﷺ said, true faith in God and His Messenger. Now somebody might say, but I thought faith is just something you believe. No. Faith is something, it is the essence of what you live by. And the basis of it is knowledge. We can now take a look at where we stand, right at this moment. How much do I read Quran throughout my day, my month, my year, outside of Ramadan? And if it was in Ramadan, is it a genuine desire to seek guidance, or is it fulfilling a cultural expectation of these are the religious things that we're supposed to be doing? And that's why he said, Imanun billah. That faith should never be taken as inherited or something culture. It should be taken as something that is sought and perpetuated and cultivated and nurtured through a life of dedication, through reading the Quran for guidance. Not just simply for the holy hasanat you get for choosing to read it, but for the guidance therein. That's the whole purpose of the book. To read the example of the Prophet ﷺ, to read Bukhari and Muslim and Tirmidhi. What did he do? What did he say? How should I be if I'm going to make a declaration of faith? La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And many of the hadiths tell us that the heaviest thing in all of your scales is La ilaha illallah. There is no deity and nothing should be worshipped except for God alone. And so why is that? It is only if the meaning as mentioned in by many of the narrators, خَالِصًا مِنْ قَلْبِهِ, sincerely from the heart, meaning your whole existence is relying upon the oneness of that which brought you into existence. You feel fully dedicated in a life owed to إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَى مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ وَأَنفُسَهُمْ بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. He has now asked you, if you will live your life for my cause and my purpose, which means not for your own selfish interests, then I will give you an eternity of heaven. So it is that belief. Ibn Ata'illah, one of the great scholars and philosophers of Islamic theology, he said, I'll translate because we're running out of time. Your deeds vary depending on your relationship with reality as you see it. Your intentions will be influenced similarly. If you see yourself as a soul with a unique awareness of divine attributes and guidance, then you will deal with people and situations accordingly. The first step is to seek the sacred knowledge, to go to the Quran and its commentary of the great scholars of our legacy and history, and to seek knowledge and enrichment of faith. Not to assume, well, alhamdulillah, I'm Muslim, and so alhamdulillah, I've been raised in a Muslim family, so I know Islam. This is secularism. This is just inheritance of family tradition. It is not a genuine embracing of the truth based on knowledge. And whoever thought they have read Quran once and now they've learned the Quran is completely in opposition to all of the greatest scholars of our history who did not look at it that way at all. Why is it made into 30 parts? The Prophet ﷺ did not get a revelation from the angel Gabriel, split it up into 30 parts. That was done by the early scholars. And they did that because they said that every day of every month you should be reading about 20 pages for all months, not just Ramadan. Not just Ramadan. This is for every month. And when you go through the Quran, new meanings, new purpose, new spiritual awakening will happen to ayahs that you have read 100 times before. I can tell you for sure, this is my reality. But if you do not take it like that, then you will see the ummah in the state that it is. Because it is something that must be nurtured and cultivated, otherwise it dies and it becomes superficial. So the beginning of cultivating that true faith, the first of the greatest deeds, faith in God and His Messenger, it is done through seeking the sacred knowledge so that you can prepare yourself to live in a way that reflects such sacred truths. Just like you go to college to get the degree so that you can get the job to make the money, so on Black Friday you can go find some extra stuff. You see the metaphor? But the question is, where do most of us stand? Is it in paying bills and mortgage and payments and trying to get Black Friday deals for this world and what it has to offer? Or have we dedicated ourselves as the priority of our existence to after death? And that is what Islam is calling us to. So the Prophet ﷺ was asked, he continued when talking about the heaviest, most valuable deeds. And he said to say, Subhanallah wa bihamdih, Subhanallah al-Azim. The glory be to God and His is the praise. And the glory is to Him and He is full of greatness. Meaning, it's not about me. I have done nothing. I own nothing. All I am is a manifestation of divine mercy. And all I have and all I know and all I do is a blessing that came from Him. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what that means when you say that. Nothing that exists in and of itself has earned its own existence or its value. It was given to it by the source of where it came from. And the recognition of this will remove oneself from a selfish desire for selfish greed and interest, which is the root of all problems of this earth. Why is that so heavy in your deeds to say those two things? And then he said, as-salatu fi waqtiha. The next most heaviest thing, the prayer not just in its time, but in the earliest time. Why? Because you have prioritized God over the world and what it has to offer. If you're the type of person who prays the moment that adhan time hits, you are the person who has prioritized God over everything else. And the value of your salah is many times more worth the one that's like prioritizing salah after my worldly interests. And then he said jihad, to struggle against one's personal desires of lying and cheating and lust and all of the things that we find ourselves directed to. To protect society against the evils, to build a good family, to have a standing military to protect us from the invasion of enemies, to put your life on the line for the value of others, selflessness, again. And then he said a pious hajj. Why a pious hajj? Because you're remembering the sacrifice of one who would sacrifice his own son because of his dedication to God who gave him that son. So he realized that God is more worthy of my dedication to anything that He gave me after Him. It is that sacrifice that is the essence of everything. So the Prophet ﷺ was asked, what is the heaviest deed that I could have in my scales on the Day of Judgment? إن أثقل شيء يوضع في ميزان العبد يوم القيامة حسن الخلق. The Prophet ﷺ said, the heaviest and most valuable thing that could be in your scale of deeds on the Day of Judgment is good character. Because why? Again, it's against you following your selfish desires and preferring the welfare of others, which is the nature of Ar-Rahman, with which we begin every surah of the Quran, remembering, because it is from this source, this selfless, compassionate, caring, kind, gentle, good value towards others and against one's own selfish interests, which is the beginning of the deviation from Ar-Rahman, which is a shaitan, al-kibr. So if you know him and you know your enemy, outside and inside, then the Black Friday deal will become easy for you in your spirituality and your entrance into heaven. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه فإنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So what is the relationship between the Prophet ﷺ saying that La ilaha illallah, there is no deity, nothing should be worshipped except for God alone, and good character? Because if you really have La ilaha illallah, then you will go to its source, and that is the Holy Quran. And you will go to the most worthy source thereafter, and that is the example of the Prophet ﷺ. And because you are going to those two places, you will learn and be affected by all of those divine attributes and the divine wisdom and knowledge and guidance, and the human manifestation of it and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And then your character will become good. The relationship between La ilaha illallah and Husn al-Khuluq is consequential. هذا يؤدي إلى هذا. So what is the connecting point between all of these heavy acts of virtue that we see? We need the rooms opened for overflow. The people here have no place to go. Does anybody here have a key? Yeah. We made the strange assumption many people are traveling. Forgive us, that's our shortcoming. Alhamdulillah. So the relationship between all of these things, when the Prophet ﷺ has said, these are the most heaviest, weightiest, most valuable deeds you can do, here's the relationship. Sincerity to Him alone, humility, selflessness, benevolence, kindness, self-sacrifice for the welfare of others. That is the essence of this path of the straight path to heaven, the path of istiqamah, the path of true success, which extends far on after eternally we leave this earth. This is the path of sincere benevolence, compassion, and kindness. We ask Allah, Ya Allah, guide us among those who are guided to path of benevolence. Give us the path of sincerity. Put in our hearts a genuine desire to be devoted to you. Make us among those that live the Quran and the Sunnah as a result of true dedication. Remove from our hearts the selfishness and greed of our own selves. Make us to become those who work for your will, seeking to lift up your word, seeking to establish your truth on this earth. Help us to be among those who are known to remove tyranny and corruption and injustice, to establish truth and wisdom and compassion and kindness, to bring hearts of people together and to show them the beauty of good character because of a devotion to you. Rise amongst our youth and young people a leadership, a people who will lead the world into goodness, a people who will reflect the light of your revelation, a people who will reflect the light of your Prophet ﷺ, and that beautiful example of good character that shines so bright long ago in Arabia. Ya Allah, resurrect us among those who love you, among those who are connected to you, among those who are in your intercession, among those who will be saved from the guilt of their own selfishness. Ya Allah, help us to become among those who truly love the Prophet ﷺ, reflect upon his life and try to live accordingly. وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وأقم الصلاة.